Okay, let's see if I can't talk through what I did here with this horse. First, I roped him. I thought that maybe he would be soft enough that I could work with him on foot, which wasn't the case, so I ended up going and grabbing Twix so I could work him off of horseback. Twix has borium shoes on, which give him grip on the snow and the ice. So it gave us an advantage over Skor, where Skor couldn't really get a whole lot of traction to pull us around, and Twix had lots of grip to hold him. Skor tried fighting the rope a lot at first, but then as soon as he would give, like you can see here, I'd release the pressure and just kept working through that to teach him to give to the pressure and lead with the rope. So here I ask him to take another step towards me and then release the pressure as soon as he does. This was the first kind of glimmer of hope of him learning how to lead. Then he did try to kind of run away here, and when he would do that, I would just dally and wait for him to give to the pressure and stop again. He'd try to fight it once in a while still, all throughout the process, just had to test it to make sure he still couldn't get away with it. One thing he also did off the start was he liked to spin underneath the rope, like you can see here, which actually I didn't mind because it shows that he can switch eyes are focusing on me really naturally. It also kind of showed he's pretty good at puzzling things out and figuring out how to twist and untwist himself and get himself out of situations. Here got him finally starting to lead around. As long as he was giving the pressure, I'd keep the rope slack, and then if he tried to fight it, I would just dally up and ask him with the pressure of the rope again. I made sure he was able to lead with changing directions, so we did a few half circle reverses and direction changes into the fence, just to make sure I had control over him on where we were going. But of course, you just had to keep testing the rope as I asked for more and more, and especially when I started petting him and around his face, he really didn't like that. So just kept testing the rope the whole time just to make sure it was still there and make sure he still couldn't get away. Eventually, I got him up beside me, and beside Twix kind of became his safe spot, and I started out by petting him and touching him on his back and working my way up his neck towards his face. Off the start, he liked to keep his head low to the ground so that I couldn't get close to it, but eventually we got him bringing it up, and obviously I had to get the halter on him somehow, and he would have had to raise his head to do that. As soon as I went to try and touch his face, he'd kind of pull away, and he didn't like that. But it didn't take me long to find out his favorite place to be scratched was under his chin and along the top of his neck, which is actually the same place Twix likes to be scratched. So once I found that spot, he really leaned into the rubs and started to enjoy it. Since I didn't have someone helping me, I kind of tried to block him off on the wall between Twix and the panels, so he couldn't go forward, and so he would kind of stay there so I could work with him. Which seemed to work all right, but he was pretty pushy and liked to push right through Twix or right behind him along the panels. Also, it was pretty challenging holding my rope, keeping my rope dallied, holding my reins, and also trying to put a halter on him all at once. So if you have someone that can give you a hand, it would sure make it a heck of a lot easier. To start working my way closer to his head, I started just dallying a lot shorter so he couldn't lower his head when I had the opportunity, and then just worked with him from there. And you can see there he's kind of leaning into those rubs that he likes. And eventually he kind of let me pet his head, but he still really didn't like things touching his nose, so getting the halter over his nose was another challenge, because as soon as it was on there he would want to pull away. It took quite a lot of tries like this to get the halter on. I put the part that goes over the neck through the rope, so it kind of held it there, and then tried to slip it on over his nose, and then the strap was held there so I could just reach over and grab it. But it seemed like every time I got close to getting it on, Twix would like rub on him or nip at him and push him away, or Skor would pull back and we'd have to start over again. This was also the part where it was really challenging, holding my rope and reins and halter and everything, but repetition, and every time we tried it we got a little bit closer, and eventually we got the halter on. Once I had the halter on, he actually led really well, and it's like something clicked in his brain and he didn't fight it nearly as much as the rope. So he led around pretty good once I had the halter on. So we just practiced going around, changing direction, stopping, again just making sure I had control over him and that he was gonna give to the pressure. So I did also lead him off the ground, but my phone died and didn't record that part, so I'll try and talk you through what I kind of did to get there. Skor really isn't trusting of people on the ground, and he was a lot more comfortable with me on Twix. So when I got off and was standing on the ground, Twix stayed kind of between us as a buffer, and as long as Twix was there between us, I could reach over and pet him and scratch him, and Skor was kind of all right with that. Since next to Twix was his safe spot, I led the both of them together, so they were just walking beside each other to start, so Skor could get used to me kind of on the ground and leading from the ground. Also, I was wearing my chaps and they were swinging and brushing with the fringe, so getting used to all of that and the noise. And once Skor was good with leading the both of them together, then I tied Twix up to the fence and tried leading Skor away from Twix so that he actually had to follow me and give to me instead of just following Twix's guidance. Using a broke horse to start another horse is super valuable, and they're a lot more comfortable with another horse there. It gives them something to follow and something to learn from, and it's really surprising how much of a difference it can make. Once I was done leading them, I did tie them both up in the pen and just let them stand for a few minutes. Skor did really well tied. He didn't test the rope or pull back at all, which is really impressive. And my knot was still loose when I went down to untie it. And to end, here's just a little video when I went to go turn him back out of me leading him off the ground on foot and what he kind of responded to that like. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more updates.